Welcome to Meditating with John Vervaeke. We live stream every weekday morning at 9:30 a.m. with Mondays alternating between a new lesson called a Dharma Day and a review of a whole ecology of practices called a Upaya Day. If you're joining us for the first time, you're very welcome. For previous lessons and see the description in this video, I recommend you go immediately and do lesson one, and then do one or two lessons every week, and you will very quickly integrate with us. Please continue to keep meeting with us. That will help you get involved and develop the practice in depth. I would ask you all to please like this video stream to increase its visibility in the YouTube algorithm so I can help as many people as possible with this work. At the end of every session, there's a Q&A period. Please limit the questions at that time to anything from the entire ecology of practices. For more general questions, we have a live stream on YouTube every third Friday of the month. That'll be August 21st of this month at 3 p.m. Eastern. And I welcome as many of you as can possibly make it, because I think it's a very rich and rewarding experience. Normally when you come in, I'm sitting on my mat and my zafu, my meditation pillow, but today we're doing a final review of an aspect of the walking meditation, the brush knees from Tai Chi Chuan. I'm just going to review it one more time, giving special emphasis to the arms, and then we'll move into the seated practice. Okay, so again, when I'm doing this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put as always, like when I start the walking, I turn my right foot 45 degrees. Here's my line, here's 90, 45 degrees. But when I'm going to add in the arms, I step onto this part of my left foot, right behind the toes, and I have a bend in my knee, right? And then what I'm going to do, I'm going to turn my hips 45, and as I do, I'll do side on so you can see this best. What happens is this arm turns. Notice I don't straighten it. I keep it bent, right? It's this hung again, that sort of almost like your arms are filled with water flowing through them. They're flexible, but they're not limp. And they're not locked, okay? So pump. And so when I'm turning this part, the hard part of my arm and the knife edge of my hand out, I'm protecting here, my liver, my lungs, and my heart. So there's a full body block. That's what my left hand is doing. My right hand is coming up, it's spiraling up, so it's palm towards me with this finger, the middle finger, just above the tip of my nose, but in line with the tip of my nose. So that looks like this. So notice how I'm turning my hips. Okay, so once I do this, then I start the Tai Chi walking, right? The meditative walking. Remember, heel to toe, and as my heel goes down, remember, I'm straightening my hips. And what that straightening of my hips does is it moves this hand past my knee. It's called brush knee. And when I finish the move, my hand comes beside my thigh here, and as if I'm touching a board like this. This hand is like a curved L, so it doesn't go on the diagonal. It doesn't go like this. It spirals into the center, that nose to navel line. Right? It spirals into the center and then down. And notice how I keep a deep bend in my arm. I am not. This is very mistaken. This is what I'm doing. Okay, so what does that look like? I'm turning, stepping, straightening the hips, brushing the knee, spiraling down the center, coming in. Okay, so remember in Tai Chi walking, meditative walking, I send my weight back and I come up onto my left heel. As I do that, my palms rotate in, and then as I turn, right, remember I do this. I align everything. My knee, remember aligning the knee, see my left knee coming into place? My hands are aligned like this, okay? Keep this hand, like, when I say aligned, I don't mean directly below it. I'll slightly ahead of it. So slightly this way. Okay, so like this. And then now this is the difficult part. I'm going to try and do it as slowly as possible. Remember what I do is I do this with my weight. I bring my weight. I turn all of my weight onto my left leg. No weight going into my right heel. And that brings up my right foot. Now, as I'm doing that, these hands are switching. So that this is now like this. And then this is the full body block here. Okay, so like this, right? I'm aligned, I turn, okay? I'm aligned, I turn. Okay. I'm aligned, I turn. And then I brush the knee on this side. I brush the knee on this side. I brush the knee on this side. Okay, so let's say I brush my knee now. That's the name of the move, brush knees. Okay, so I think, like I said, I'll do it first this way. So I got the full camera. I want to turn. I've done a brush knee, and I want to turn. So let's just do the footwork again. Up, pivot, no weight yet. Shift weight from here to here. Pivot more. Let this foot slide a bit. Let the right foot slide a bit. And then up and over. Okay? So, but I'm doing the first part of the weight shift with the footwork. I'm spiraling this down, and I'm spiraling this up. What I'm doing is I'm actually storing energy in the elasticity of my tissues. Right? So when the martial arts, you're learning to coordinate not just the large piston muscles, you're learning to coordinate all the small, that's why you're doing all the spiraling. First of all, you're coordinating all the control muscles and it's like a laser. Ambient light, the light bounces off in all directions. In a laser, it's reflected, right, so that it all becomes coherent and it moves in a unified pattern. And so I'm trying to get all of the muscles to have that coherence to them. That's part of what chi is. And then also I'm storing energy in the elasticity of the tissues. So it's not just so like if I'm striking someone, right? When I strike, it's not just piston muscles. It's also the small control muscles, and it's also the elasticity of the tissue, and it's the weight shift, and I'm getting everything coherent into one strike, okay? Hopefully you'll never use this for fighting, but the idea is you understand the function, it helps you to do the form correctly. Okay, so I'm like this, I rotate, and then now I shift from, right, this leg to this leg. I start to unwrap my hands over, and now you see I'm ready. I'm ready for a brush knee. What would that look like on this side? Same thing, wrapping, starting to unwrap, over, brush knee. Wrapping, getting into place. See this? Starting to unwrap right here, over, brush knee. Okay, I think this is better right here, right? Wrapping, and then start to unwrap, and that gets this hand down into place, the lower hand. This is now right in front of my nose, ready to go, and boom. So remember, whenever so inhale, because I'm getting everything ready, I'm drawing everything in. This is the in part, and then yang, exhale. And then in, right? And then exhale, then in, and then exhale. So you're meditating on the flow of your breath. You're meditating on your center, your root, obviously your flow. And now the final part, right? The final part is this, and this is a word that should not be translated because whenever it's mistranslated, it gives people all kinds of crazy metaphysical ideas. But this is the key, the chi, or the ki. Chi is Chinese, ki is Japanese. It's that sense of laser-like coherence, but it's simultaneously an awareness of, like, it's an intelligent, flowing, living coherence. That's sort of the musicality of your own perspectival and participatory awareness of your body in movement. So I hope that's helpful. And I'm just going to go off camera, and Jason's going to adjust the camera. I'm going to get my mat and my pillow, and we will move into the seated practice. Okay, everyone, can you please get yourself into position? And set your phones on Do Not Disturb. As always, we will begin with some chanting, and then we'll go into a silent sit, and then we'll have time to answer some questions. We'll begin when I say begin. Begin. One. Begin your silent sit. Slowly come out of your practice, trying as best you can to integrate what you cultivated in your practice with your everyday consciousness, cognition, character, and communitas, perhaps by reciting the 5 promises to yourself. Okay, we have time for a couple questions. The first is from Rawad Jonas. Do we need to prepare anything from the Wisdom of Hypatia before next Monday? Yes. Please read the first 3 chapters, that's 70 pages, and consider taking up over the weekend, maybe a couple of the initial practices, self-examination, etc. You know what those are when you see them. And that way we can have a bit of momentum going when we have our Dharma Day on Monday. So Manuel Post, thank you for waiting and being patient, Manuel, and giving me feedback so I can hopefully give you a better answer. I'll read through the whole thing. I have the idea that in my youth I used to be a fairly visual thinker. I've had a brain injury. I'm sorry to hear that, by the way. Pressure due to inflammation that I associate with the loss of my ability to access visual memories thinking. The same is true for the auditory. I'm sorry to hear that. I have some sense of what it is to lose. The veneers has cost me my hearing in my left ear. So I have some sense of what that's like. I think there's value in cultivating these skills to reclaim some of what I've lost. I've been able to have limited access after intense concentration, no doubt. The brain's plasticity, its capacity to rewire and make use of other areas. We're going to talk about this a little bit more on Monday. It is very significant. Recently, during meditation, I've been developing my ability to perceive and influence, really limited visual and also some auditory experience after intense concentration. During recent meditation, I've been developing my ability to perceive and influence really limited visual and also some auditory experience. So this makes great sense. We know that meditators, what seems to happen, and we'll talk a lot about this on Monday when we talk about savoring, right? There is a bottom-up aspect of taking information in from the world, and then a top-down inhibition that screens off a lot of that and tries to find the familiar patterns. What meditation does is it relaxes that top-down influence and opens it up, makes it more flexible. So more of the bottom-up influence comes up. And this is what I mean when I say you can use imagination, which is the top-down, to make this top-down more flexible in order to train perception, the more bottom-up. And so meditation actually tends to create synesthesia in people. This is when you have a color experience, that you see colors in sound, or you taste shapes, right? And so we know that meditation can, in fact, do that kind of rewiring, and because of the way it probably functions. I've had experience when I took my first dose of an SSRI, is that perhaps there's some depression associated with the chronic loss, where I unleashed an uncontrollable flow of thoughts. So with this context, my question is twofold. So that's a very excellent explication of the context, Manuel. I want to ask for methods of cultivation of the visual and auditory, and if there is a threat to engaging a not fully integrated part of the brain, and this might grow out of control. Okay, so first of all, and this is not deliberate, this is just how it fell together. The thing I'm going to be teaching you on Monday as part of extended Epicureanism, the savoring of simple experience, will really help get that better relationship between the bottom-up perception and the top-down prehending. Prehending is the seeing of relations and patterns. It's in like comprehension, apprehension, prehending. It's an idea ultimately from Whitehead. It means sort of getting the way you're sizing things up mentally getting an optimal grip on them. And so savoring is about making that a much more flowing and participatory experience. That should help. And because you're doing it outside of meditation, I'll explain the context, there's less of a chance of it sort of running away on its own. So there's going to be that. And then down the road, when we move into the theurgia of the Neoplatonic part of the course, we'll be trying to engage in active imagination and dream work, which also will help use imagination to better train perception, but in a very sort of disciplined context that will integrate with mindfulness, so that there'll be less of a chance of there being that sort of runaway rumination and spiraling that you're concerned for, Emmanuel. So I think that that should help you. Perhaps we could take another question. So Mike Allison asks a question. Hi, John. I have done your in-person meditation class a few times through at UFT. Oh, great, Mike. Good to see you again. Do you have a week to recommend I go to catch up past that point? For instance, the chanting is new to me. So I will find that out and get it posted in, I think it's a lesson 11 where we started the moving practices. We'd finished Prajna. Let me quickly check, Mike, and I'll post it in the description. I'll get it posted in the description for this video. And that should tell you what lessons you can start from and work your way forward. Ben Gao, hi Ben. Ben is a vital presence in the Discord server community and in the Sangha. It's always good to see you, Ben. You describe Prajna. I think you meant Prajna as a non-duality practice. For some, non-duality means recognizing the self as illusory. For me, what you teach decenters but still preserves the self and focuses on how the self relates to others. I'm actually working on a course right now, Ben, and devoting a lot of cognitive scientific effort to this whole debate. There's even a good anthology edited by my friend and colleague Evan Thompson called Self, No Self. And part of is that I think the presupposition that behind this debate that we clearly understand what we mean when we make this distinction, I want to challenge that presupposition. I think that what the prajna does, because it's very intense absorption, is you obviously lose the narrative egocentric sense of self. But if what we mean by self is the capacity to be here now, sort of Heidegger's sense of Dasein, with some kind of awareness, so an awareness of our here nowness and the unity of our experience, the oneness. If the self is our capacity for an awareness of that, so that although my mug has the here nowness and the togetherness, it doesn't have an awareness of that, then I think that part of the self comes to the fore in things like non-duality practices of prajna. So often, by the way, here's just this is not a complete argument. One indication of what I mean by how people are slippery about this is they'll say there's no self, and then what they do is they just shift functions that have been traditionally associated to the self to consciousness. And consciousness is aware of itself, and right, and then that doesn't really answer the problem. It just shifts it around. So I think there's a lot more science and philosophy needed in order to bring clarity, conceptual and theoretical clarity, to this debate, and many people are engaged in it, and I'm engaging in it. And so I want to be careful how I answer your question. I'm trying to say that I think our narrative egocentric sense of self diminishes, but the functionality of an awareness of here, now, togetherness, what Heidegger calls our sort of Dasein, our being here, our being there, I think that comes to the fore. And even in traditions that talk about the self as illusory, like Zen, you'll hear people talking about in Zen you find your true self. And so, like I said, I think this is all very slippery. And what we should do is we should do two different things and not confuse them together. In the realm of explaining, we should do a lot more cognitive science and philosophy. And in the realm of training, we should really zero in on the phenomenology that is actually functional for transformation for us. And then get those two to talk to each other as much as possible. I'm going to be working on that. Eventually, after I teach this course, I'm going to release a video series on the nature of the self. I know there's a lot of video series coming, and they're all unfolding, because I'm trying to be a good teacher for all of you. My job is to do a lot of the work, because you guys, and you have your own lives and you don't have the time. I get that, and I'm in a sort of a privileged position. But how I can respond to that gift that I've been given by others is to be a very good teacher, to learn as much as I can and share that learning as much as I can, as succinctly and as powerfully as I can for as many of you as possible. And so that's what I'm endeavoring to do with the help of many other good people of good faith and good talent. Gabe, we have one more, I think. Gabriel Rubenstein. Any tips for encouraging someone who could benefit from meditation but can't motivate themselves to do it and is resistant to the idea? Don't start with the seated practice. Get them involved with moving practices. You've seen some of the moving practices here, even the Tai Chi Chuan, like the brush knees. I'll talk on Monday. I'm going to talk to you about the Epicurean savoring, which you do while you're walking, and then we'll also talk about philosophical contemplative companionships, how you cultivate the philia, the friendship that's at Philia Sophia, which is central to Epicureanism. What you can see now is how I'm going to treat the wisdom of Hypatia. I'm not going to just teach you what's in the book. I'm going to supplement it and expand upon it. So there's, back to the original question, get them involved in things where they're moving, where they're engaged, even practices out in the external world, way before you get them into the seated practices. Okay, everybody, thank you so much for joining. This is always so nourishing for me. I want to thank my techno friend, my techno mage and dear friend Amar, my beloved son Jason, the techno mage apprentice, and all the work he's doing for us. Please subscribe to the channel to be notified of the next video. You'll find the lecture series Awakening from the Meaning Crisis, the Dialogo series, Voices with Vervaeke. Very shortly, we're going to release another thing that combines lecture and dialogue. Greg Enriquez and myself are going to be releasing Untangling the World Knot of Consciousness, dealing with the hard problems of mind and meaning. And you know that After Socrates is coming, the God Beyond God is coming, the Nature of the Self is coming. There's a lot that's coming. Invite others who might benefit by sharing this series. Please join the Discord servers to chat with others, to do the moving practices with others, to do extra meditation, to find a home when we three can't run the Sangha. Also, I'm going to be coordinating with the Discord server, because some of these practices in the wisdom of Hypatia need to be done in groups, and because the Western tradition emphasizes the patterns in your life, although there are siddha practices we'll do. And so we need to coordinate that. I hope to be talking to Mark and Brett over the weekend. A reminder, we're doing this every weekday morning at 9:30 Eastern Time. Please follow me on Twitter for the fastest updates if you don't have any sort of philosophical opposition to that. Please remember, continuity of practice is more important than quantity of practice. You're emphasizing quality in the continuity rather than just sheer quantity. Don't hold yourself to a standard of perfection. Hold yourself to a standard of virtuous friendship, because there is no enemy worse than your own mind and body. There's no friend, no ally better. No, I can't convey this enough. Like when you get that sense of a companionship on the path, that alliance that your own mind and body gives you, and how that's intermeshed, wedded to your inner sage. There's no friendship greater than that. Be lamps unto yourselves and to each other. I'll see you all on Monday for Dharma Day, and we'll begin the wisdom of Hypatia. Please remember to read the first 3 chapters up to page 70. Take good care, everyone.